Hello, I'm Captain Julie Igleheart with the Florida Women's Department. I'm here to introduce our next speaker as well as some other information for you guys. Our next speaker is going to be Jo Saxton. She is a very powerful speaker. You will be blessed by everything that she has brought for us today. We're going to have two videos from her. One is especially for the women's retreat, and then there's another one that she has taped at a different church, but it's really entitled for us during this time. The first video is personalized, like I said, for our retreat. And the second video is entitled, You Are More Than Enough. More than enough. We are more than enough for God to use us in every aspect of our lives. But we also have some other things that are going on this weekend that we really would like for you to tune into. Not just this session, but all the sessions that we have. We have several giveaways, and we also have a out of the blue moment. There were several ladies, we have 8 to be specific, that have been chosen for out of the blue moments and out of the blue celebrations of their lives. They will be before and after each session. And we would love for you to take the time and tune in and not just to see them, but just hear what God has to say to you and the things that we have going on here this weekend. So open your hearts and open your minds and be in prayer for our speakers this weekend, as well as the ladies that are on this YouTube channel, video, everything that we have all worked so hard for. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Well, hi everybody, it's Jo Saxton here. I was hoping I'd get to be with you face to face in physical form, and hopefully that opportunity will be coming our way in the months to come. But for now, it's great to be able to connect with you in a small way. I wonder if any of you knew that when you called the event out of the blue, how prophetic it would be, how significant it would be for as a word for our times. It's staggering, isn't it? And it may be that all of us are overwhelmed in some way. I'm finding the Psalms to be a great place of assurance and comfort and guidance right now, because it has words which give us the full human condition. There are Psalms which are dedicated to lament and sorrow, others in grief, others that talk of joy, others thankfulness, wonder, prayers of supplication, inviting God to help us. I've been leaning into Psalm 46, which talks of God being our refuge and our strength and ever-present help in times of trouble, and later saying, be still and know that I'm God. I would encourage you that you would find a psalm, maybe 1 or 2, that would help guide you through these uncertain times. Maybe you need words of lament because of what this global pandemic is doing in your family, in your community, in your neighborhood. Maybe there are psalms of thanksgiving that you're leaning into as you see answered prayer in the face of terrible times. Maybe it's joy and praise that is keeping on and giving you perspective. I want to encourage you to find your psalm and hold on to it in these weeks and months ahead. But I'm also finding one particular passage in the Bible bringing me great comfort in this moment and guidance. And it's actually Matthew 14. Matthew 14 begins with the death of John the Baptist and Jesus pulling away to be alone after hearing of his cousin's death. But the people who are seeking out Jesus because they need healing and help are pressing in, and they're kind of following where he is. So Jesus has the pressure of what's happening personally and the pressure of what's happening around him in ministry. And that may be the story for many of us, that we are feeling the pressure of how we're feeling about these circumstances personally and the grief and the sorrow it evokes, but also the pressure as we look to the needs of the world around us. The passage continues with the feeding of the 5,000. Where the disciples are like, there's so many needs right here. Let's send them to the resources to get help. And then Jesus calls the disciples to step up in faith and feed them themselves. I can't imagine being in their position. But we see a miracle in place. And for those of us who feel out of their depth, maybe this is a time when we seek God for the things that only he can do and the miracles only he can bring. But it's the last story that lands with me most closely, when the disciples get into the boat and they cross over the lake as Jesus goes away to pray by himself. Prayer being a thing that we need to be pressing into in this moment. But the disciples, they're in the boat and a storm picks up. And John's account of this says they are rowing 3 or 4 miles in this storm. Many of these disciples are familiar with these waters as seasoned fishermen, but now they know they're out of their depth. This is overwhelming. This has come from nowhere, and here they are. I wonder if you and I are feeling the storm right now, feeling out of our depth, feeling like out of nowhere these circumstances threaten to overwhelm us completely, overwhelm every aspect of our lives completely. And then, as if anything couldn't get worse, then they see a figure walking on the water. It must have been terrifying. I mean, we know it's Jesus, but they didn't know. And what we see happen here is Jesus calls out and says, don't be afraid, take courage, I'm here. And maybe for some of us, that's the word we need right now, that do not lose heart. Have courage. Jesus is here right in the midst of your storm. Peter goes 1 second further and says, if this is you, call me out, tell me to come to you. And Jesus invites him to come. And we know that Peter walks on the water. He gets overwhelmed at some point and pulls away, but then eventually goes back into the boat with Jesus. But he responds in faith to the word that Jesus has for him. He's still walking in a storm. He's still walking in these terrible circumstances, but he walks on the words of Jesus, and that leads him forward. My encouragement to each and every one of us in this out of the blue moment, when we lean in and trust on the Lord, we trust on who he is, his faithful character, but let's seek him for what he's saying to us right now so that we can walk with him in response to his word. Even in the storm, we can take courage because Jesus is right here. Lots of love to you all, and I can't wait to see you and meet you in person. God bless.